Prepare for 40 days of divine transformation. Miraculous changes are prophesied for you. In the quaint town of Ashford, whispers of divine intervention fluttered like leaves in the spring breeze. Grace, a devoted single mother, clung to the old wooden pews of St. Michael's Church, her heart echoing the prayers of countless souls. Sunday after Sunday, she gathered her children and the tight-knit community, their voices rising like fragrant incense toward heaven. Together, they sought the intercession of St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, who had always held a special place in Grace's heart. As the season of Lent approached, the air crackled with expectation. Grace found herself enveloped in an otherworldly aura during a heartfelt prayer meeting. It felt as if the very walls hummed with a sacred promise, and as she knelt in supplication, a powerful word reverberated through her spirit: miraculous changes were destined for her life. Her heart raced, hope flickering like a candle, but doubt followed closely, casting shadows that threatened to overwhelm. Could faith truly move the mountains closing in on her? As the days drifted into the uncertainty of late winter, whispers swirled amongst the townsfolk. Perhaps they, too, feared that Grace's struggles were too great for mere prayer. Then, as if on cue, the storm clouds of despair rolled in, with an unexpected illness striking her eldest child. Panic flooded their household like a relentless tide, testing their faith to its breaking point. Each night, Grace gathered her children, her voice trembling but fortifying as they implored St. Jude for miracles. With fervent sincerity, she prayed for healing, for strength, for hope, but the world around them felt dauntingly dark. Desperate, she raised her voice, claiming verses from the Bible with fervent insistence. Tears streamed as she tried to bridge the gap between her pleas and their reality, while the very essence of their beliefs hung in the air like ripe fruit waiting to fall. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amid the whirlwind of despair, Grace reached a pivotal moment. A flicker of rebellion ignited within her. She cast aside the faith she once clung to desperately, racing against the clock to avert catastrophe with her own hands. And yet, her frantic efforts led to unforeseen setbacks that spiraled her into deeper despair. Confusion clouded her heart. Was the prophetic word mere deception, or a distant hope that taunted her? Just when the darkness seemed impenetrable, a sudden moment of divine intervention shattered the silence. A warmth enveloped Grace, a presence so palpable that it left even skeptics breathless. As if orchestrated by unseen hands, whispers of healing spread throughout the community. Hearts softened, hands joined, and together, they prayed louder than ever. Witnessing the restoration of Grace's hope and joy became a testament to the power of unwavering faith. Now, standing on the threshold of renewal, Grace faced the challenge of embracing the divine purpose interwoven through the trials. Could she trust the unfolding of God's timing? As she prepared for these 40 days of transformation filled with uncertainty, an unresolved question lingered in the air: what greater miracles awaited her just beyond the horizon? Would her newfound faith be enough to guide her family through the storm? Grace stood in the dim morning light, the chill of early spring nipping at her skin. With each sunrise, she felt the weight of the world pressing down upon her, a heaviness that threatened to suffocate her spirit. Yet, alongside the burden, there emerged a flicker of divine hope, a spark kindled by the shared prayers and unwavering support of her community. With her children still asleep, Grace took a moment in the stillness to breathe. In that quiet space, she opened the Bible, its pages worn and familiar. The words danced off the page, weaving a tapestry of light in her heart. All things work together for good, she whispered, allowing the promise to settle deep within. Perhaps, she thought, these 40 days were not merely a trial but a path laden with opportunities for growth. As the day progressed, the community buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose. At St. Michael's, the church became a sanctuary of hope. Grace marveled at the commitment of her neighbors. Young and old gathered to transform this holy space into a retreat for divine encounter. They decorated the altar with lilies, their petals vibrant against the backdrop of the simple wooden cross. Each blossom held a prayer, a plea for change for the miraculous. Each evening, as twilight bathed Ashford in deep hues of purple and gold, the townsfolk united in prayer. Grace noticed confidence rising within her as they sought St. Jude's intercession. They poured out their hearts, lifting their voices in harmony like a beautiful melody that echoed through the heavens. Each prayer felt like a thread weaving them closer together, creating a tapestry of faith that could not be easily unraveled. Grace could see the change in her children too. The fear that had once clouded their innocent eyes began to dissipate, replaced by an ember of hope. They joined their mother in prayer, their small hands clasped tightly together. "Mama, God is listening," her youngest declared one night, brightening the room with her childlike belief. It was a simple truth, but one that resonated with profound clarity. God was indeed listening. As the days waned, Grace found herself reflecting on the miracles that had already begun to surface. Small, tender moments unfolded every day: an unexpected visit from a neighbor bearing gifts of food, an offer of assistance with her child's care, and heartwarming notes of encouragement left on her doorstep. Each encounter flared in her heart like stars in the night sky, a constellation of divine promise. The night before the final day of their 40-day journey, the church was abuzz with anticipation. They gathered for a vigil, candlelight casting flickering shadows against the walls as every heart sought the same thing, a testament of faith and a glimpse of God's plans. Grace felt the divine atmosphere surging, electrifying the air. She realized then that the journey had transformed her soul, opening her eyes to possibilities she had not dared to dream. But as Grace stood with her community, an undeniable question arose in her heart. If these 40 days had reignited her faith, what awaited her on the other side? What greater revelations were God holding close, waiting to unveil them like a gift lovingly wrapped? An overwhelming sense of wonder filled her spirit. Tomorrow, the culmination of their prayers would unfold. Would she witness the miracles she yearned for? Would her family emerge from the shadows with renewed strength? In that expectant moment, Grace knew she was on the brink of divine discovery. Morning dawned over Ashford, casting a golden hue across the sleepy village. Grace awoke with a flutter of anticipation in her heart. Today was not just any day, it was the final day of their 40-day journey, a day that would usher in the wonders that God had promised. The air felt thick with possibility, as if the world itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. She moved quietly around the house, careful not to wake her children. The chirping of birds outside seemed to resonate with her heartbeat, a gentle reminder of God's creation and the miracles that often emerged from the ordinary. Time slowed as she prepared, each action intentional, infused with prayer and cherished hopes for her family. Once dressed, Grace joined the other members of the church at St. Michael's. The sanctuary was alive with excitement, and the reverent chatter filled the room like a sweet melody. She exchanged warm glances with those who understood her struggles, shared her laughter, and held her tears. The congregation, once uncertain, now radiated faith like the sun pouring through stained glass. Each face was a testament to the strength they found in community and prayer. As the service began, the pastor's voice rang clear, anchoring their spirits together. "Today, we stand at the edge of a promise fulfilled," he declared, his words igniting a fire in every heart. "Let us open ourselves to the wonders of God. Let His plans unfold before our eyes." The room erupted in applause and shouts of "Amen," a symphony of hope and anticipation. Grace's heart swelled as they sang, the notes soaring higher and higher. The worship music enveloped her like a warm embrace, melting away lingering doubts. In that sacred moment, she felt God's presence wrap around her, tangible and powerful. It was a reminder that something extraordinary was about to happen. As the service progressed, they gathered in a circle, hands held tightly. Gripping the hands of her neighbors, Grace felt a rush of strength flowing through her. Each prayer uttered was laced with faith, echoing back to the prayers they had shared over the past 40 days. Words of healing, restoration, and unity filled the air. Grace squeezed the hand of the woman beside her, her heart aflame with solidarity. She could feel the heartbeat of the community, thumping in rhythm with her own. Then came the moment of stillness. The pastor called them to quiet their hearts and listen. In that sacred silence, Grace's mind drifted. She thought of her family's struggles, the hardships they had faced. But nestled within those struggles was a blooming faith that assured her that God never abandoned her. "Lord," Grace whispered, "show us your glory today. Let the light of your presence shine upon us." Tears of reverence pooled in her eyes as she surrendered it all at his feet. And then, almost imperceptibly, the air shifted. A gentle breeze swept through the open windows, rustling the pages of the Bible on the altar. It carried with it a sense of expectation, an energy that sent shivers down her spine. The pastor seemed to sense it too, his voice rising, filled with passion. "The walls of doubt will come crumbling down, and the blessings that have been waiting will flow forth." Grace's heart raced. What would be revealed to her? What miracles lay ahead? As her spirit danced with hope, she felt the warm glow of divine love enveloping her, and just then, a soft voice broke through the silence. A child in the congregation cried out, "Mama! Look!" Startled, Grace turned to see her daughter pointing toward the front of the church, eyes wide with wonder. What revelation awaited there, pulling on the threads of her heart? Grace held her breath, the promise of what was to come teetering just beyond the horizon of her imagination. The congregation turned as one, drawn to where her daughter pointed. In the flickering light of the stained glass, a figure stood just beyond the altar. At first, it was a silhouette, but as the light streamed into the church, Grace was captivated by the glow that surrounded the figure. The air seemed to hum with an energy that was both tender and powerful. Her heart raced. Was this an angel? A messenger sent to them? Josie's tiny hand gripped her mother's tighter, her small body trembling with excitement. Grace knelt slightly, drawing her daughter closer to her. Together, they peered down the aisle, caught in the web of awe that had enveloped the room. "Behold!" The pastor's voice boomed, reverberating off the walls, filling every corner with authority. "The presence of the Lord is among us. Open your hearts and minds to receive His truth." The room fell to a hush again, a breath held in reverent anticipation. Grace felt a wash of warmth cascading over her, unearthing buried hopes and dreams she had almost forgotten. With each passing second, the figure moved closer, revealing itself to be a woman, her face radiant, eyes sparkling with an otherworldly wisdom that seemed to pierce right through to the soul. There was something familiar about her, something ancient and yet profoundly personal. Grace's thoughts raced. Who was she? She felt as if she might know this woman, as if she had wandered through her memories. Suddenly, the woman smiled, a smile that felt like sunlight breaking through a darkened sky. "Dear child," she spoke softly, her voice carrying the sound of gentle waters flowing. "You have long sought answers. You have confronted fears and endured trials, but today, the path ahead is revealed. God is here to remind you that the past does not bind you, your faith does." Tears brimmed in Grace's eyes, and she could feel the shifting of hearts around her. Everyone in the room was caught up in the moment, some whispering prayers, others gently weeping. They were all experiencing a glimpse of heaven, hope woven through each of them. Your struggles have not gone unnoticed. Miracles are upon you, waiting to unfold like petals in the morning sun, the woman continued, her voice lifting their spirits. But you must step forward, cast aside your doubts, and trust in His guidance. Are you willing to embrace what He has in store? Yes. Grace's heart erupted, the affirmation blossoming in her chest. The warmth she felt intensified, wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. A chorus of affirmations and amen. "Here, oh, we trust you, Lord." There rose up from the congregation. It was as if they were creating a tidal wave of faith, pushing back the darkness that had lingered too long. Grace could see it now, the vision beyond her immediate grasp. This was not just about her, it was about her community, her children. This promise extended to every heart in the church, every soul hungry for deliverance. The woman lifted her hands, palms up to the heavens. Let go of the chains that have held you captive, she said. For today, you are reborn. Today, miracles will flow forth like living water. Just as the last word left her lips, an unexpected sound broke through a forest of whispers, like rustling leaves before a strong wind. Grace looked around, feeling the atmosphere change. What was happening? Just then, another child called out. Look! The light! It's brighter! Grace looked back toward the front, and indeed, a brilliant light began to fill the sanctuary, illuminating every crevice, purging the shadows. She could barely breathe. What power was this? What would be revealed to them through this divine light? The promise of transformation hung in the air, radiant and overwhelming. Grace's spirit soared with anticipation. Would they all heed the call? Would they step into a new beginning guided by faith? As her eyes widened in wonder, the scene before her began to expand, inviting each believer into a greater reality, a moment where faith met action. What was God preparing for them in this place of divine illumination? Could their hearts, full of expectation, yield to the wonders yet unknown? The light surged, overflowing like a mighty river. It wrapped around the figures in the church, each embracing its warm embrace. Grace felt her heart swell, a living testament of longing transformed into hope. As the brightness intensified, the woman at the altar remained resolute, emanating an energy that called forth the boldness buried deep within Grace's soul. What is your name? Grace whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling chorus of the congregation. I am a vessel of his promises, the woman replied, the radiant glow around her flickering like the flame of a candle caught in a gentle breeze. You may call me Joy, for I bring forth the joy birthed by faith. Joy's footsteps were soft as she approached the congregation, her presence turning heads, each gaze drawn to her as if caught in an irresistible web of light. Grace felt inexplicable joy bubbling up within her, a joyous anticipation that resonated through her very being. Today is the day of all days, Joy announced, her eyes sparkling. A season of 40 days lies ahead, a promise of divine transformation. Through this period, change will come upon you, a rebirth nourished by your trust and faith in the Almighty. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Grace turned to Josie, whose wide eyes mirrored her own astonishment. Together they grasped the gravity of this moment, knowing not only themselves but the whole congregation stood at the precipice of something wondrous. What does this mean for us? Someone asked from the back. A murmur of curiosity swept through the crowd like the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. With each dawn, seek him, Joy instructed, her voice commanding yet tender. In prayer and devotion, dwell deeply in his presence. Allow the roots of your faith to grow uncommonly strong. He will unfold blessings you never thought possible. Tears streamed down Grace's cheeks, but these were not tears of sorrow. They were heart-welling tears of expectancy, the kind that echoed the rhythm of hope rising among those gathered. Strengthened by my faith, I surrender my doubts, she dared to speak. Let his will shape my path. The congregation began to join in, a rising chorus that danced with fervor. We surrender. We trust. We believe. The words were a symphony, harmonizing with the sacred air. The light flickered and pulsed, dancing in rhythm with their united voices, creating a sacred space. Joy extended her arms, welcoming this outpouring. Every fear, every failure, every temporary loss shall be transformed into victory. Seek him in every moment, for you will witness the miraculous woven into your lives. Grace envisioned what lay ahead: a vibrant community ignited with purpose, children growing in faith, families healed from discord. She could see her own story unfolding, the emptiness replaced with divine purpose and direction. What else might God unleash in these 40 days? What miracles awaited those willing to step into the unknown? The joy surged like a mighty ocean wave, crashing through the walls of skepticism and doubt. With hearts animated by hope, they all stood on the cusp of their breakthrough. Prepare your hearts. Joy called out, her voice ringing through the sanctuary, creating a palpable excitement. For divine transformation is ready to embrace you. A season of unprecedented change awaits. With that proclamation, the atmosphere shifted once more. A soft whisper echoed through Grace's heart, not a voice, but a gentle prompting, "Will you follow me?" What divine mysteries were ahead? What revelations would unfold in the days to come? Grace's heart raced with the anticipation of miracles yet to be revealed. The flicker of candlelight bathed the church in soft hues, as Grace stood, feeling the presence of joy resonate in her very core. The murmurs of the congregation echoed her own yearning, a symphony of spirits drawn together by faith. The excitement in the air felt electric, palpable, it coursed through the veins of every believer present. "I sense the winds of change blowing among you," Joy spoke with a voice that danced like music. "The Lord calls forth a new chapter in your lives, one where His love can break chains and mend broken hearts. Are you ready?" Grace nodded, a quiet affirmation in the depths of her spirit. She could see the faces around her, some shining with hope, others clouded with doubt. Yet, as the words settled, she could feel them all leaning forward, collectively yearning for what was to come. "Every morning when you awake," Joy continued, her voice woven with a gentle authority, "let your first thoughts be of gratitude. Let every breath you take remind you that you are cloaked in grace." Tears began to flow again, each drop a reminder of the burdens lifted and the new dawn that awaited. She felt a tug at her heart, a whisper reinforcing Joy's words, trust him fully." The atmosphere around them began to shift. The light that had been spilling softly through the stained glass windows now amplified, filling the room with an undeniable warmth. Grace caught her breath, recognizing this as divine assurance, a sign that God's plan was weaving through their lives at that very moment. Thus, the invitation came, gentle yet profound. Grace looked around and noticed Josie with her hands uplifted, her face reflecting the glow of peace. It was in that moment of shared devotion that Grace felt emboldened. She, too, wanted to express her praise. "Lord, I am here," she cried out, her voice ringing clear. "I surrender to you. I open my heart to the miraculous." The fervor of the congregation swelled. "We are here." Many hearts, one praise. They proclaimed, their voices soaring like an anthem of hope. Joy moved among them, her presence tangible as she offered blessings. "This is the beginning, my friends. Expect change, expect growth. New relationships will be forged, deepened by shared faith. Old wounds will heal. Each of you is a mirror of God's love, reflect it brightly." As her words resonated, Grace glanced at the flickering candles. They represented each person, each soul ignited by the divine light. It was a heartwarming sight, yet there was something deeply personal at play, something rooted within her own desires and dreams. Suddenly, as if the very breath of God swept through the room, a wave of tranquility engulfed her. She heard a voice, this time more pronounced, a reminder that she wasn't navigating this journey alone. "I will guide you, as long as you let me." At that moment, she grasped the depth of the next 40 days. It wasn't merely about seeking answers, it was about embracing the uncertainty, savoring each moment as it unfolded. She felt her heart surge with courage, knowing the next step would demand faith. Joy's voice cut through the tender silence again. "What has held you back? What healing do you require? Speak it, whisper your burdens and hear the love that awaits." Grace felt the air thick with possibilities, as whispers filled the space. It was a profound mingling of souls, each heart bearing witness to a collective desire to lay down what no longer served. As the evening light began to fade, the anticipation for the 40-day journey was palpable. Yet, as Joy prepared to leave, she offered one last message. "In your seeking, you shall find what miracles await you, only time will tell." With that, Grace's heart felt both light and heavy, filled with a sense of urgency mingled with joy. What transformations would she truly witness? What blossoms of faith were waiting to bloom? The mystery hung in the air, tangible and inviting. The echoes of their journey were only just beginning. As the final echoes of Joy's words reverberated through the sanctuary, Grace stood still, her heart racing with a medley of emotions. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows across the walls, whispering promises of hope and transformation. She could feel the anticipation building inside her like a gentle tide, rolling in with a purpose only God could know. Around her, the congregation was caught in a sacred stillness, eyes glistening with tears, hands clasped in prayer. She caught sight of Josie, her friend, glowing with an aura of peace that seemed almost tangible. With a gentle nod, Josie beckoned Grace closer, as if they were to enter a shared journey, one that would lead them not only through the next 40 days but into deeper waters of faith. "Are you really ready for this?" Josie whispered, her voice light, yet filled with conviction. Grace searched her friend's eyes, searching for a hint of uncertainty, but instead found unwavering faith. "More than ever," Grace replied, her voice firm. It was a conviction birthed from the heavy burdens she had been carrying, the doubts, the fears, the moments of loneliness. In that instant, she realized that letting go wasn't merely an act of surrender, it was also an invitation to embrace what lay ahead. As they bowed their heads, the room was filled with a collective energy of prayer. It was as if the very air pulsed with possibility. Grace listened intently, her heart echoing with every plea, every call for healing, every aspiration for hope. She visibly felt each whispered prayer, small yet monumental, echoing the promise of growth. "The Lord is weaving our stories together," Josie murmured softly. "Each of us is a thread in this tapestry. We must trust Him to guide our paths." What wondrous imagery that was! Grace closed her eyes, picturing a grand masterpiece, the edges fraying yet beautiful, all the colors blending perfectly in the hands of the Creator. The challenges ahead loomed in her mind. Would she really have the courage to face them? As if sensing her internal struggle, the warmth around her intensified, cradling her spirit in a way that offered assurance. It was God's love that fortified her resolve. "Grace," a gentle voice beckoned from somewhere deep in her heart. "Claim your identity. You are my beloved child, and your journey is vital." Opening her eyes, she felt newly energized. Each struggle she carried transformed into a stepping stone, guiding her toward clarity. The beauty of the moment lay not just in its comforting atmosphere but in the raw honesty of shared vulnerability. It felt liberating to know others bore their wounds too. Joy re-entered the scene, her presence radiant, casting light into dark corners of doubt. "Remember, each of you is a vessel filled with potential for change. Don't be afraid to spill it out. It is when we overflow that true miracles begin." Grace's breath caught in her throat. This was her call to action. No longer would she let fear bind her. Looking around, she could see the flame of hope igniting in their hearts too. What if this initiated a wave of transformative love within their community? As they prayed together, reaching towards the heavens with outstretched hands, Grace felt each heartbeat connect. For the first time, she understood faith wasn't an isolated endeavor, it was a shared journey. As the evening deepened, the church began to empty slowly, yet the divine presence lingered like a scent of blooming flowers. Grace lingered for a moment longer, absorbing the glow of candlelight that continued to flicker in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Lord," she whispered, "help me to trust in your timing and guidance. I'm ready to embrace the unknown." With that, the room fell silent once more, but deep within her spirit, a new adventure was stirring. What awaited her in these next 40 days? Only time would reveal the extraordinary path God had set before her. Did she have the courage to embrace it? The morning sun peeked through the leaves, casting a warm golden glow over the world outside. Grace awoke with a renewed spirit, each ray of light seeming to whisper words of encouragement. She could still feel the warmth of last night's gathering wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. The excitement of the journey ahead filled her with a longing to dive deeper into faith. Sitting on the edge of her bed, Grace took a moment to breathe. "Lord, guide my steps," she prayed, grateful for the day that lay before her. She envisioned it as a page blank and ripe for writing. A day to live out her calling, a day to begin the transformation that she longed for. Breakfast was a simple affair. She prepared her usual toast but opted for a cup of tea this time, allowing the warmth to flow through her fingers. With each sip, she savored the peace she felt. Reflecting on the themes from Joy's words, she thought of those miracles promised and how they began with small acts of faith. When the time came to leave for church, she felt a flutter of nerves. What was meant to happen? Would this day hold the first of many profound changes? With a determined heartbeat, she stepped outside, embracing the crisp air. As Grace arrived at church, she felt the familiar hum of anticipation in the air. The sanctuary was again adorned with flickering lights, echoing the warmth of the night before. She scanned the room and saw familiar faces filled with eagerness, each person ready to embark on their unique journey. She spotted Josie in the corner, exchanging excited whispers with another friend. As their eyes met, Josie smiled, and Grace couldn't help but return the gesture. The sense of community wrapped around them, a melody of shared faith. "Let us gather everyone together," Josie said, her voice rising above the gentle noise. As the group formed, Grace felt the urgency of unity, a deeper calling that resonated within her soul. Joy stepped forward, her presence radiant. "Welcome to this new dawn." Joy's voice was vibrant, filling every corner of the room. "Today, we begin not just together, but with open hearts. Every step we take in faith will shift our foundations into a new path." Lively conversations broke out among the congregation, inspiration igniting sparks of hope. Grace felt again the flicker of divine promise weaving through their community, her heart swelling with possibility. "Let us share our intentions," Joy suggested. "What is it that we wish to release, and what is it we wish to receive?" One by one, voices rose, each sharing their burdens along with their dreams. When it was Grace's turn, she stood taller, the vulnerability washing over her like a wave. "I want to release fear and embrace courage," she declared, her voice steady. "I want to open my heart to the unknown and trust God's plan." There was a resonant murmur of agreement. She looked around, feeling their support like a warm embrace. As they began to pray, Grace felt a shift, as if the air itself was charged with new possibilities. The prayers blended into a rich tapestry of hope. Each request resonated, echoing the collective heartbeat of faith. Tears of joy glistened as Grace sensed the presence of the divine wrapping around them, a living testament to the miracle that lay within their community. "God is transforming us," Joy proclaimed, raising her hands to the heavens. "Prepare for the extraordinary. We cannot predict when or how these changes will come, but trust that they will unfold in His perfect timing." As the last echoes of their prayers faded, Grace felt something awaken inside her, a stirring desire to share her journey with others, to be both a beacon and a constant reminder of faith. Walking away from the gathering, she couldn't shake the feeling of expectancy. She realized she was not just a participant but a vital thread in a grand design that was yet to be fully revealed. What would these 40 days bring? She pondered, her heart alive with possibilities. Would she witness the miraculous? The path stretched out before her, inviting and marvelously unknown. Would she have the strength to follow it? The days unfolded quietly but beautifully, each one like a brushstroke on the canvas of Grace's life. She immersed herself in the spirit of anticipation that filled the church community. Each morning, the world felt new, alive with promise, and she embraced every moment as a chance to grow in faith. One evening, as twilight painted the skies in soft hues of orange and pink, Grace found herself in the church's cozy prayer room, nestled between lovingly worn Bibles and cushions. This space felt sacred, imbued with the whispers of countless prayers. She took a deep breath, closing her eyes, grateful for the sanctuary. "Lord, reveal your plans," she prayed, the words flowing from her heart. "Help me see not just where I am, but where you want me to be." In that stillness, she felt a gentle prompting, as if the quiet around her was alive with divine whispers. It was then that she recalled the stories of other lives changed through faith, like the widow who had flourished through her last bit of oil, or the boy with a small lunch who fed thousands. Miracles often began with the seemingly insignificant. With each passing day, Grace felt the burden of her fears dissipate, replaced by a deep, rooting courage. She began to engage more with the community, organizing gatherings, inviting others to share their stories of faith. The deeper she dove into these connections, the more she sensed a collective heartbeat echoing through her friends' hopes and prayers. One Sunday, during a particularly spirited worship session, Joy stepped onto the platform with a contagious enthusiasm. "Let us share moments," she encouraged, her eyes gleaming. "Let us tell the world about how God is moving in our lives." Voices rose in the congregation, each testimony like a spark igniting others. Grace listened, her heart swelling as stories filled the air, stories of healing from past hurts, of unexpected blessings, of barriers that had crumbled under the weight of faith. She felt a longing to share her own, yet a twinge of hesitation held her back. Then, a voice echoed from the back, a nervous but determined soul spoke of feeling trapped, of wanting more than the mundane existence they had settled into. With every word, Grace's heart raced. Was this what she had been waiting for? Before she knew it, the words surged forth. "I know what it feels like to stand at the edge of your calling and hesitate," she began, her voice trembling yet steady. "But when we step into the unknown, trusting Him, miracles happen. We become part of something greater." As she shared, it was like opening a floodgate. The room resonated with emotion, and she could see other faces lighting up with hope. It was more than just her testimony, it was a movement of faith manifesting in real time. The cheers of affirmation wrapped around her. With joyful tears escaping, Grace felt the moment stretch long, a divine connection between hearts hungry for change. "God asks us to take the leap," Grace concluded, her heart racing. "When we do, He is ready with open arms." After the service, a woman approached her, eyes shining. "Your words touched my soul," she said. "I've been scared to take the next step. But tonight, you've given me courage." Tenderness washed over Grace, the realization that her journey could inspire others, igniting a new flame within. The 40 days were not just a countdown, they were a journey, a path illuminated with shared hopes, fears, and dreams. And within that unity, Grace began to understand the true essence of her mission, to be a vessel of God's light, no matter where that led her. As she returned home, her heart danced to a rhythm of expectancy. What other miracles awaited? What transformative encounters loomed ahead? A divine adventure was unfolding, and she could scarcely wait to embrace every twist and turn, but there was still more to discover. Would she be ready for the next challenge that God would place in her way? The sun broke over the horizon on the final day of Grace's 40-day journey, bathing Ashford in a warm glow. She awoke with a fortified spirit, knowing today would bring all their prayers to fruition. The air was thick with anticipation, and the chirping of birds sounded like a heavenly chorus welcoming in the sacred promise of transformation. As she moved through her morning routine, every action felt intentional, clothes chosen with care, breakfast prepared with gratitude, and the familiar heartbeat of hope thrumming in her chest. She looked at her children, sleeping peacefully, and felt a wave of determination wash over her. This day was not just about her, it was about her family, her community, and the promise that God had whispered into her soul. When she arrived at St. Michael's, the church glittered in the sunlight, every corner alive with brightness, harmonizing with the vibrant energy of the congregation. Grace exchanged warm smiles with those around her, the love and support palpable. She felt a sense of unity tighten the bonds of their hearts. They had all embarked on this journey together, clasping hands through turmoil and triumph alike. The pastor began the service with a heartfelt declaration that rang true in every heart present. "Today, we gather to witness the manifestation of God's glory among us. Remember, His promises are fulfilled in His perfect timing." As the words flowed like honey, the congregation's faith surged, coalescing into a powerful force. Together, they shared their collective dreams and burdens, encapsulating their journey in one resounding voice. Each prayer was a tribute, each testimony a string woven into the tapestry of hope they had built together. Grace felt bold today. With reverence, she rose to speak. "I stand here not as a perfect mother, nor as a flawless believer but as one who has struggled, doubted, and wrestled with faith. Yet, I'm also one who has seen how God transforms even the darkest of despair into resplendent hope. Her voice, stronger than she ever expected, echoed through the sanctuary. I feel His presence bursting forth in this room today. Our prayers have been collected, our hearts intertwined, and miracles are no longer on the distant horizon, they are here. The room erupted into a chorus of praise. Tears glistened in the eyes around her, reflecting the unity of their spirits and the shared journey they had embraced. They clasped hands, forming a circle, while the pastor led them in fervent prayer, invoking God's presence to move amongst them like a whirlwind of blessings, and then, silence. A hush fell across the gathered believers as they collectively held their breath, waiting. Almost tangibly, the atmosphere shifted. Grace looked around and saw eyes closing, lips whispering quiet prayers. What would be revealed in this holy moment? Suddenly, a brilliant light poured through every crevice of the church, illuminating the space with a divine glow. Grace shielded her eyes momentarily, overwhelmed by the surge of warm energy surrounding them. God is with us. Open your hearts, she cried, a flood of joy spilling over as she embraced the light. From the brightness emerged a figure, joy a radiant reminder of all they had ventured through together. Will you accept your healing, your transformation, and the miracles that await? Crossing the threshold of light, joy smiled, filling Grace and everyone present with peace that transcended all understanding. With every ounce of faith ignited, they together affirmed, "We surrender to you, Lord. Pour out your grace upon us." As their faith resonated in unison, hearts began to stir, wounds began to heal, burdens lifted as if the oppressive weight of darkness had fallen away. Grace felt the warmth envelop her, washing over her family, touching her children, pouring abundance into their lives. She could see the transformation taking place in every person in that church, wonder spilling out like a river of grace. Suddenly, whispered shouts of joy erupted from the congregation. "Look! The light! It's brighter than ever." Their voices were filled with visions of restoration. Grace's heart swelled with gratitude as she witnessed love flourishing around her. Miracles are happening, healing is happening. Grace rejoiced, driven by the pulse of hope alive in her heart. In that moment, she realized that it wasn't just one individual story being transformed, it was her entire community reclaiming their faith, surrendering to the miraculous renewal God had waiting for them all. With tears of joy cascading down her cheeks, she felt renewed purpose. "We are vessels of His promises, filled with resurrection hope," she proclaimed, echoing the divine truth that had woven through every challenge they faced. Their journey continued, an unfolding tapestry embroidered with divine grace. The final day was not an end, it was merely the beginning of something profound. Grace felt her spirit lift, eager for the days ahead, ready to share the miracles that were destined for each soul willing to believe. So, with hearts afire and hands clasped, the congregation sang praises louder than they'd ever sung, voices intertwined in an opus of faith, hope, and divine promise. This was the moment. Grace marveled at the power of communal faith. The dawn of transformation had arrived. As her heart danced with joy, she whispered a final prayer of thankfulness to God, knowing His eyes were upon them. In unity and purpose, they would embrace the unfolding journey ahead, a journey of faith that was now woven into the very fabric of their lives. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let it know how powerful this journey has been. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this ending. Share how this message has impacted your faith, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second to share these transformative messages with others who are hungry for change. Together, let us spread the light of faith.